Nestled 177 kilometers north of Saipan, Anatahan Island is a tiny dot in the vast Pacific Ocean. During World War II, it became the site of a chilling tale of survival and desperation. 32 Japanese men and 1 woman were stranded here for 6 years. Armed with only 2 broken firearms and their wits, their isolation turned into a nightmare, culminating in a bloody conflict that would leave only 19 survivors. What drove these men to such extremes? Let's unravel the haunting story of Anatahan Island. Kayuko Higa's journey began in Okinawa, Japan, where she was born into a modest family. In 1939, at just 16 years old, she embarked on a life-changing move to Saipan, part of Japan's territorial expansion during the era. The government's encouragement of migration to colonized territories promised opportunities, and Kayuko sought a brighter future alongside her brother. After arriving in Saipan, she found work as a waitress in a bustling cafe, her youthful charm and beauty quickly garnering admiration from many. One admirer stood out: Shichi Higa, a fellow Okinawan with a kind demeanor and a hopeful spirit. Their bond deepened, and within 2 years, the two were married. At 18, Kayuko transitioned from a bright-eyed girl to a devoted wife, setting the foundation for a new chapter of her life. In 1944, Shichi's work as a labor supervisor brought the couple to Anatahan Island. The volcanic terrain, dotted with coconut groves and surrounded by turquoise waters, seemed like a secluded paradise. However, the looming specter of World War II soon darkened their idyllic life. By 1944, the Pacific War was nearing its end, and Japan's defeat was becoming inevitable. American forces had reclaimed Saipan and many other islands, forcing the Japanese to retreat. Shichi, deeply concerned about his sister stranded on a nearby island, made the fateful decision to leave Anatahan to search for her. Tragically, he never returned, leaving Kayuko alone on the island with her employer, Kiku Ichiro. As U.S. bombing campaigns intensified, the lush coconut plantations and infrastructure of Anatahan were reduced to ashes. Kayuko and Kiku were forced to adapt to their desolate surroundings, retreating into the island's dense jungle for safety. They relied on foraging, maintaining a few surviving livestock, and finding creative ways to endure the harsh isolation. Despite the destruction, they managed a fragile existence in their newfound solitude. However, their relative peace would not last. On June 12, 1944, a catastrophic event unfolded that forever changed the trajectory of life on the island. On June 12, 1944, tragedy struck when 4 Japanese fishing vessels were attacked by American forces near Anatahan Island. Among the chaos, 3 of the ships sank, while the 4th, heavily damaged, barely remained afloat before going under. Dozens of survivors found themselves in the open sea, fighting for their lives. Desperation drove them to swim toward Anatahan, the nearest landmass. After a grueling effort, 31 men made it ashore, joining the already isolated Kayuko and Kiku Ichiro. The new arrivals were a mix of naval officers and young civilian sailors, the youngest among them only 16 years old. Initially, the arrival brought relief and hope. The survivors believed they had found refuge and allies in a harsh and lonely environment. However, their sudden influx strained the island's limited resources. Food supplies, primarily wild fruits, coconuts, and fish, became harder to gather. Shelter and clothing were also scarce, and tensions began to simmer beneath the surface. Despite the shared struggle, the dynamic changed dramatically due to one stark reality. There was only 1 woman on the island and 32 men. This imbalance, combined with the mounting pressure of survival, set the stage for a descent into chaos and violence that would ultimately define the tragedy of Anatahan. As the days turned into months, the struggle for survival on Anatahan intensified. The limited food sources dwindled quickly as the group of 33 people consumed nearly all the wild pigs, chickens, and edible vegetation on the island. Forced to adapt, the men resorted to fishing, gathering shellfish, and hunting crabs to sustain themselves. Yet, scarcity remained a constant threat, heightening tensions within the group. Over time, the men devised makeshift tools and began fermenting coconut sap into alcohol, a small comfort that often escalated into conflict when emotions ran high. But survival wasn't just about finding food and water. The imbalance in gender, one woman among 32 men, created a volatile dynamic that pushed the group closer to chaos. Initially, Kayuko and Kiku's symbolic marriage served to maintain order and discourage advances from the other men. However, as months passed, the fragile peace unraveled. Hidden desires and competition for dominance turned former comrades into bitter rivals. The discovery of a downed U.S. bomber's wreckage marked a turning point. Among the debris, the group found 2 damaged firearms and ammunition. Repairing these weapons shifted the island's power dynamics dramatically. Yamamoto and Yamaguchi, former soldiers with experience in handling weapons, seized the opportunity to gain control. The guns became symbols of authority, and those who possessed them dictated the island's hierarchy. Under this newfound regime, survival turned into subjugation. Yamamoto and Yamaguchi used their weapons to intimidate and control the others, claiming the best resources and, most troublingly, Kayuko herself. Fear gripped the islanders as the balance of power teetered dangerously. Disputes escalated into violence, and the island's once cooperative atmosphere gave way to paranoia and hostility. Yamamoto and Yamaguchi's dominance, however, was short-lived. Their alliance crumbled under the weight of their mutual distrust, culminating in a violent clash that left Yamaguchi as the sole ruler. Believing his position secure, Yamaguchi underestimated the resentment brewing among the other men. Isolated and despised, he met a mysterious end when he drowned under suspicious circumstances. Though his death was officially deemed an accident, whispers among the survivors suggested otherwise. The cycle of violence continued as the firearms fell into new hands, perpetuating the island's descent into chaos. The battle for survival on Anatahan became less about enduring nature's hardships and more about navigating the dangers posed by fellow humans, a tragic testament to the destructive power of fear and desperation. Yamaguchi's control over the island marked the darkest chapter of the survivors' plight. With both firearms in his possession, he ruled with unchecked authority, exploiting resources and people to suit his needs. Fear permeated the camp as the other men grew increasingly resentful of his tyrannical reign. Kayuko, already a victim of the power struggle, became a central figure in the conflict, symbolizing the disparity and desperation of their situation. The island's social order devolved further as distrust and animosity spread among the group. Yamaguchi's reign, however, came to an abrupt end under mysterious circumstances. One morning, his lifeless body was discovered near the shore, the official cause being drowning. Yet, few believed it was an accident. Whispers of conspiracy echoed throughout the camp, as many had motive to end his oppressive rule. The firearms, once again unclaimed, fell into the hands of new contenders, reigniting the cycle of violence. Each new leader sought to solidify their dominance, often through force and intimidation, turning the island into a battleground of survival of the fittest. This constant turmoil bred paranoia among the survivors. Friendships dissolved, alliances were fleeting, and every decision became a matter of life and death. The isolation that once bound them together now tore them apart, leaving a trail of betrayal and bloodshed. The descent into violence on Anatahan Island was not just a fight for survival, but a brutal reflection of the human psyche, when pushed to its limits, trapped in a world without rules or reprieve. By 1951, the survivors on Anatahan Island were shadows of their former selves, worn down by years of violence, mistrust, and deprivation. The arrival of American forces signaled an end to their torment, but not all were willing to accept rescue. Over the years, repeated attempts had been made to convince the islanders to leave, including the dropping of leaflets announcing Japan's surrender. Yet many dismissed these as enemy propaganda, clinging to the belief that the war was still ongoing. It wasn't until Kayuko, desperate to escape, took the bold step of surrendering herself that the truth began to sink in. Kayuko's testimony about the horrors on the island shocked the outside world. Her account detailed the brutal power struggles, the psychological toll of isolation, and the depths of desperation to which the group had sunk. The remaining men, stripped of their weapons and illusions, finally emerged from the jungle, gaunt and broken. Of the original 33, only 19 survived to tell the tale, their spirits crushed by years of unrelenting strife. The story of Anatahan Island remains a harrowing example of how extreme conditions can strip humanity to its barest instincts. It's a sobering reminder of the fragility of civilization and the cost of survival when all hope seems lost. For those who endured, the scars, both physical and emotional, would last a lifetime, a testament to the depths of human resilience and the price of despair. The tragedy of Anatahan Island is more than just a tale of survival. It's a chilling exploration of human nature under extreme conditions. When societal norms collapse, instincts take over, and even the strongest bonds can fracture. This story challenges us to reflect on what it means to survive, to lead, and to hold on to humanity in the darkest of times. What lessons can we draw from such a harrowing ordeal? Let us know your thoughts, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more stories that delve into the depths of human history.